Good evening and welcome to our program, Jones and Company. I'm your host, Christian Jones, and joining us on this special edition of Jones and Company is the new Commissioner of Police, Ms. Shanta Knowles. Good evening, Commissioner Knowles, and welcome to Jones and Company.
Good evening, Christian. Thank you so much for having me here with you.
It's good to have you here. The last time we were together is when we had our ceremony to award our JCN Person of the Year award to you. And at that time, we spoke about a lot of your history in terms of on the Royal Bahamas Police Force, a lot of the events that have brought us, or got us to the culminating moment in terms of after 60 years of women joining the Royal Bahamas Police Force, or women in policing in the Bahamas, we now have our first female commissioner. So once again, congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
When we look at what the Prime Minister said in the handover ceremony just over 2 months ago now, really what he pushed in his speech was change and reform. And as I mentioned before we started our program, that he said that he had found that you were uniquely qualified to deal with the job at this time. He pointed to your leadership abilities and community policing being a focus of the police force at this time. Do you believe, and I've asked you in terms of it being also International Women's Month, does bringing a women's touch to the police force aid or help us in dealing with the sort of issues that we're dealing with now?
The Office of Commissioner of Police is a strong office, a powerful office. And as you know, men have held this office from its inception. And being the first woman to command this office, and take command of the Royal Bahamas Police Force, I do believe that my presence, though commissioner and a strong commissioner, I do believe that I bring a feminine touch to now policing. More like a mother figure, but a strong mother figure. And so, yes, service is the main key to this office. And I believe that as a woman who have walked these streets for the past 34 years, worked these streets for the past 34 years, I can make a big difference with the help of the good Lord and the fine officers of our organization. And so, a strong woman, God's help, all things are possible.
When we look at, especially throughout our country today, whether it be the record amount of women we have representing us in the House of Assembly, or women who hold leadership positions, not only as Speaker of the House, as President of the Senate, various ministers, the list goes on, that it demonstrates in our country today that definitely the amount of agency that women in our country have. And I think that the country is justly proud to celebrate having our first female commissioner.
Yeah.
When we talk about, a lot of what led to you becoming Commissioner of Police, and as I mentioned, that sort of theme that the Prime Minister sort of hammered through in terms of change and reform. A lot of what we've seen in terms of your policing plan of the first 90 days has included themes that we've not necessarily seen focused before within the Royal Bahamas Police Force. Would you like to talk about those just for a bit in terms of the ideas, the inspiration behind why that has been your focus, or you've chosen to make education and those sorts of things your focus at this time?
Well, I'll tell you, working in the organization for the past 34 years, I don't think that a lot of what I have said has been new to the organization, but certainly something that we now need to focus even more on. We have in the past months been faced with some challenges where our integrity has been called into question. And not just one or two officers, but the entire organization. And because of that, we need to go back to the basics of what we knew back in those days, to bring these sessions back on and to reignite the flame within our officers, the flame of service, the flame of integrity, accountability and dedication and all that, those good stuff that we always talk about. And so we have to remind ourselves sometimes of the reason why we serve. And our service is to make someone else's life better, not our own, but to make someone else's life better, not for reward of any kind. In my speech, I made two promises. One was to ensure that every officer under my command would receive ethics training, and another was to reestablish the inspection and review branch in our organization. I am pleased, and I know my 90 days are not up as yet, but I can say that we are making good grounds as it relates to our ethics training. We have covered New Providence, Eleuthera, Exuma. Our officers are in Grand Bahama now, and then we will deal with the Family Islands. And so I'm getting very positive feedback from those sessions, and I think it was something that was needed because of the positive feedback that we're getting. The inspection and review branch has been established or reestablished. It's been commanded by Chief Superintendent Tess Newbold and a team of 6 officers who are doing a wonderful job. They have already inspected 2 police stations, and they will be reporting to the Deputy Commissioner once they've completed their paperwork with those stations. So the promises made or the goals set are in motion, and I do believe that in 90 days, at the end of my 90 days, I will address the Bahamian people and let them know where we stand on those issues. As it relates to training, we want to get our officers back into the classrooms as much as possible here locally and on international courses so that we can re-educate, so that we can introduce them to new techniques. And I believe all of this causes us to have a better production of our services, our work to the community. So education is important for us.
And policing is, I'm sure, a profession which is necessary to look at or to continuously revisit.
That is correct.
In terms of not only training, but I believe, the Minister of Foreign Affairs talk about how important as well it is to try and get a cohort of new officers from every generation to ensure that the police force is relatable to every generation of Bahamian in terms of recruiting and perhaps refocus efforts in increasing recruiting. Has that also been a focus?
So yes, it certainly has. In last year, we recruited, I think, over 200 officers, and we are hoping to have another 200 recruited this year. We are hoping that we can meet the deadline of April 1st to have 100 recruits here in New Providence and another 100 enter our training facilities in Grand Bahama. And of course, once they have completed their training, we will look further. We will hope that this process will be continuous, at least for a while. Our numbers are low, and we want to bring those up. And hopefully we can continue to canvass our communities to find those who are suitable and ready to really serve professional service to the people of the Bahamas.
And we've spoke about, especially over the past on the radio, on my show, Issues of the Day, we spoke about Police Month. I had the opportunity to interview a member of your leadership team, Assistant Commissioner of Police, Marino Hines.
Awesome. Okay.
And a lot of people who called in on the show, who listened to the show, were very impressed by the manner in which Assistant Commissioner Hines was able to answer a lot of the questions in detail, which proved that we have some highly intelligent officers who know exactly what they're doing. A lot of people called me to say, well, it seems as if that the commissioner is surrounding herself with a lot of highly effective officers. When we talk about your leadership team and even what has gone into selecting some of these officers which you have entrusted to lead some of these important branches of the Royal Bahamas Police Force, what went into your decision to select some of these officers?
Service and professionalism. We need to continue to develop officers, and I'm glad that we have the ones sitting at the table with me who have given service, dedicated service to our community, but also who are professional people who understand their roles and who are prepared to be the positive example for our younger officers. These positions are not light positions. These positions require us to pay attention to everyone under our command, but to be able to give good guidance to our officers. educational-wise, and of course, sometimes personal guidance in order to ensure that our force remains respected in the community or to even regain the respect of people in the community. And so when I sit to the table and look around, I realize that I am blessed to have the men and the women who sit at that table who assist me. Those are my assistants, and they certainly do that. So a good team of officers and who are ready to work, who are working, who are in the communities, who are in their stations giving service, and certainly those who understand the roles that they play.
Right. Madam Commissioner, how would you respond to criticism in terms of the amount of assistant commissioners and deputy commissioners that have been deemed necessary at this time to complement the Royal Bahamas Police Force?
Well, I'll tell you this. Our numbers are 13, and it has been higher than that in the past. The role or the portfolio of every one of those assistant commissioners is a heavy one, and so certainly much needed today. None of them have a role where they can just relax after 5 p.m. No, it's a 24-hour position, and they are walking into them. I will say that to those who believe or who wish to criticize that, have a conversation with them and see what it is that they are required to do. Every assistant commissioner also, well, most of them command also a station. Mm-hmm. So let me rephrase that. While there are commanders at stations, they oversee the operations of those stations. For instance, right. Assistant Commissioner Earl Thompson, his responsibility is that of the Forensic Science Lab Criminal Records Office, mm-hmm. which includes the firearms licensing section. But he also has responsibility to look over the airport station, the the Southeastern Division, and also the Southwestern, which is Carmichael and East Street South Station. And right. So those commanders report directly to him. So it's not that he has a 9-to-5 position and he can go home. No, anything that happens in any one of his policing districts, he responds to. Right. And that is so for the other assistant commissioners who also commands or oversee a particular division. Assistant Commissioner Marino Hines is responsible for Family Islands. Mm-hmm. So that is every Family Island south of New Providence. Right. And so it certainly is a heavy portfolio. And like I say, our numbers are not as high as they've been before, but these officers are certainly working the portfolios that they have. Right. We understand that there will be people who will criticize, but we're not going to pay attention to criticism unless it's constructive and that we can learn from it or develop further from it. But it is what it is. Our numbers are 13 strong, and 13 working strong. Right. And taking the position now after more than 3 decades on the Royal Bahamas Police Force, at any other time of the Royal Bahamas Police Force, do you believe that the force has experienced the level of challenges or probably the amount of challenges that they're facing now in terms of, in certain cases, well, in the past, manpower issues, and certainly with the scourge of crime now being, I think, almost at an all-time high in terms of the history of our country, does now seem like a more challenging time than any other time before? I think so, but I believe also every era had its own challenges, and every commissioner had his own challenges that they had to work to overcome. We are in a different era where young people are exposed to so much, especially through social media, and so we are fighting all of those battles to ensure that our young people stay on the right track, and to also fight crime. With them on social media, they're also looking at creative ways that they can commit offenses and get away with it. And so we have to stay a step ahead of all of this, to focus on all of this. Are our crime numbers very high? They're always too high for us. We wish that we can have a Bahamas where there is no crime, but of course we know that's not the case. And so we are going to work the challenges that we're going to work to overcome the challenges that we face. And I believe that if we continue to work the mandate that has been given to us in our Constitution and the Commissioner's Policing Plan, we can succeed. We will succeed. God is with us. Um, we acknowledge God in our organization and our lives, and I do believe that if we as a people turn back from our wicked ways, so to speak, and acknowledge God and His commandments, then we will see a change in our society.
Right. Being at the heart, at the very focal point of, the fight against crime, it requires, Commissioner Knowles, as you know very well, the coordination of, not only assets and resources, but of so many people involved in a holistic approach to dealing with crime. And we hear it all the time, the politicization of the issue, this idea perpetuated that a specific minister or even a commissioner has anything to do with the amount of crime that we see in the country, and a lot of people willing to abdicate positions in terms of, being stakeholders in our community, whether it be within the church or the wider community, but there seems to be this pass the buck sort of thing that wider society does when it comes to trying to find actual tangible solutions to some of these issues we face. And you mentioned constructive criticism being preferable, but what do you, or how would you comment on that sort of issue that we have in society with what seems to be, like I say, the pass the buck sort of situation?
I think we as a people want to blame others for our own downfall. We don't want to take responsibility for our own actions, is basically what it is. We want to blame the teachers if the children fail in school. We want to blame the pastors if the children can't remember a memory verse. We want to blame police because your children are out there committing crimes. And until we take responsibility as a people and realize that together, collectively, we can address the issue of crime and the social ills in our communities, then we will continue to have these issues. I believe that the Clear Hold and Build initiative that the government has set forward and that we are using as a crime-fighting initiative is one that will certainly help us. We have seen in the first 3 months of that program good results in the Angliston community. That program has, and in that community, we've used pastors, we've used community leaders to reach out to those in the community who we suspect are causing havoc or creating mischief. And we're seeing the positive results from that. And so that is a program where we're getting everyone in the community involved. Social service workers. Of course, the police leads the way in that. Education is also a part of that. Environmental health is a part of that program. And so I believe that if we continue to work these kind of programs, we will be successful in reducing the amount of crime and the fear of crime in our community. But what it also does is it shows that, or it helps us to regain the trust or rebuild the trust that the people have in our organization, the Royal Bahamas Police Force. I'm excited about this program. I've seen the results in the first survey, and I believe that as we move into the Nassau Village community and the Carmichael community, we will continue to see success.
Right. In becoming commissioner now, Madam Commissioner, before you became commissioner, of course, there were, we have alluded to, issues that have affected the level of trust that the citizenry have in the Royal Bahamas Police Force. And, like we're talking about, to see the sort of success in Clear, Build, and Hold, it requires that level of trust that citizens are willing to put in police officers. And when you look at, I guess, the level of trust that citizens have in the police at this time, some would say that it perhaps may have been or may be at this time at an all-time low. But the effort still is there to sort of rebuild these relationships, as you say. And I think an important aspect of that, you might agree or disagree, is really to humanize members of the Royal Bahamas Police Force, and speaking to them and highlighting that they're members of
They
our
are.
community, that they
They
go
certainly,
home and
we come from the communities, our organization, 2,000, just 600 officers. We come from every community here in the Bahamas. We are your children. Uh, if we fail, it is because there is something that you may have instilled in us that we did not adhere to or we strayed away from. We've had challenges in our organization that has caused people to look at us negatively. And we can't run from that. We certainly can't. We acknowledge that there are bad apples in our organization, but we work to ensure that when we find those who commit offenses, that we deal with them. Mm-hmm. But what a lot of people don't recognize or acknowledge is the fact that even through all the adverse comments that we hear, our officers still show their courage by adorning themselves in their uniforms and going back into the streets to give service. We don't acknowledge that. We don't acknowledge the fact that it is difficult when you hear people call officers some ill names in one breath, and then in the second breath call for help, but the officer goes and gives the help that is required. And so I thank my officers for having the courage to put on their uniforms in the face of all the negativity that we hear and to continue to go into our communities and give service, because it tells me that their service is from the heart.
Right. And you know, your predecessor as well afforded me, you know, the same opportunity to be able to interview him. And when he was here the last time for an interview, you know, he spoke about policing in a way that I never really thought about it. And I'm sure a lot of Bahamians have never thought about it as well. You know, we think about the challenges of crime and policing 400,000 Bahamians. But, you know, when we think about the people who travel through our country, the millions of people, right? And, you know, the necessity or the fact that the Royal Bahamas Police Force has to be on the cutting edge of dealing with these issues and being able to really grant security not only to just 300,000 people, but millions who pass through our borders. But I don't think we look at it, or a lot of Bahamians look at it from that aspect.
No, I certainly don't think that they do.
How is policing, or what are the challenges like when we look at it from that perspective, that the Royal Bahamas Police Force has a much larger and a much greater relevance to a larger community than we sort of imagine when we think about policing in the Bahamas?
The Royal Bahamas Police Force is concerned about our citizens, certainly, always will be. But we also have a tourism product that we need to protect. And the tourism product is not only in New Providence, it is in New Providence, it is spread all across our islands. Recently, I met with a group of cruise line executives. Mm-hmm. And there are so much more than you would believe that come here to our shores through the cruise line industry. Ships or carriers that you don't even know about that visit our islands. Our responsibility is a great one. But like I say, the officers are committed to it. Some of the challenges that we face, of course, is manpower, but we know that that is also a challenge with other organizations. And I believe all of us are competing in the same potential work pool to gain or to access those who we believe can strengthen our organization with professionalism and while they provide service. But we don't look at our challenges and complain. We realize that we have a job to do, and we go out there and do the job, while those in administration, like myself, look at how we will be able to increase our numbers to better police or to better give policing ideas to our officers. So challenges, we have them. Do we have the ability to overcome them? Certainly we do.
Right. We always should. Madam Commissioner, we have to take this first break on our program, Jones and Company. But when we come back, I'd love to pick that conversation up where we're leaving now.
Yes, sir.
We have to take this first break on our program, Jones and Company. We'll be right back.